Good afternoon. I'm Nick Powles, publisher of 1851franchise.com. For those of you who have been following along, we've interviewed many Sylvan Learning franchise owners and really have dove into their journey on how they became successful. So for you watching at home, this gives you another opportunity to hear what is the process like and how do folks get involved. So today, Clarence and Renita, Thomas, thank you so much for joining me. What I love to start off with is tell me your story. Tell us your story. How do you even get to this point? And obviously, we're going to dive into the process that you're going into. But how do you even get to this point in the journey? What is your stories?
Good, right? Well, to be honest, it actually started off with our middle son. He's a junior in high school now, but our journey started last year when we realized that there was a deficiency, and we were like, okay, we've got to figure it out, because to be honest, he had some amazing middle school teachers who acted as his parents. So therefore, by the time he got to us, we thought that everything was great until he got to high school, and we realized, wait, there's something missing. And we brought him to Sylvan, and within less than a year brought him up to his reading level and vocabulary, everything that he was going to actually need, even to prepare him to take his SATs. And if anybody that knows our middle son, if you can get him to do anything, then you're doing amazing. And so then we started kind of looking into becoming franchisees, especially because my background, currently I am a 8th grade science teacher. So I've been looking into seeing how I can do a little bit more outside of just my content area.
Love it. And Clarence?
Well, to add to that, I think I would say our journey kind of started out way before then. Being in the military, my wife was teaching for a very long time. She's been in education for a very long time. I've taught and been in education from a military standpoint, and then transitioned into the civilian sector from the educational perspective. We've traveled around the world. We've seen different programs such as Sylvan Learning Center, and we saw what they did with, for children. And when we came across Sylvan, it became more personal for us because of our son. But we had always watched from the background, so to speak, how Sylvan ran their business and how they helped the community, how they helped, the children that they support. And we definitely wanted to be a part of that because, again, that's what we do. So.
All right. So I have a ton of follow-up questions. There's a lot to unpack there. Let's start with the personal side. We'll start with life and we'll go into business. So one thing that franchisors often talk about is the value of someone with a military background going into franchising, because there's a playbook that's written. And It follows very similar to how the military would operate, that there is a playbook that you will follow. And as long as you follow it, you can have a successful career. Yeah. So you feel like, does that seem like as you've gone through this and you started doing your due diligence, did the military background help you understand the playbook that you're getting in franchising?
Absolutely. I would say that it has. I retired from the Marine Corps after 22 years of service, and one of the things that we emphasize is attention to detail. And one of the things that we liked about Sylvan is the process, and to working up to where we are right now. We are new to the franchise, so in saying that, this helps us understand the ins and outs, and the way Sylvan Learning Center kind of helped guided us through this process so far. I definitely can associate that to how we do business in the military.
Renita, if we look at your life and your life hitting your educator, you're going through a child that you're figuring out how do we get back on track, and you use Sylvan as a parent and as an educator. are you thinking about business ownership as a part of that, or is it all 100% focused on how do we leverage a Sylvan to get our child into the right place?
Well, for me, I went in as already because I am an educator. I already went in. Yes, I went in. Sometimes I go in without it being parental, and I go in as a complete educator, and then I might say, "Oh, hey, I'm in education." But for me, I think it was kind of like a long time coming, because we have been, talking about becoming business owners, but at the same time, not real, knowing exactly what direction we want to go in. And then it was just, as we've seen our child progress in such a way that we did not think was possible. And I was able to look at it from two different lenses, as a parent and as an educator, and to see that, because we lived in Okinawa and we actually have used a tutoring service, and we used Kumon while we were living in another country. But at the same time, putting two different lenses on it, I see more of the benefit with Sylvan on both platforms, from a business standpoint and as an educator. And sitting in the parking lot, looking at the kids get excited about going in. And even my son, he's a junior, and he, that incentive wall, he was like, I need my $30 Amazon card. But at the same time, he really did enjoy going, and he liked being a part of his educational process, because we allowed him to say, okay, hey, what days would you like to go? What time frame would you like to go? So it also made him feel like he was a part of the decision-making process. And I like that about Sylvan.
So I'd imagine this turns into, I mean, obviously you go down the process of becoming a franchise owner, but it's a deeply personal experience that you've had that led you into, like, the two of you are thinking about how can our backgrounds, how can we get into business ownership, but then this deeply personal moment drives you to trigger why now.
Yeah, and in essence, it, like Renita said, because we've both been in education for a while, it was kind of like a smoke in the background that we didn't really pick up on, and it became very, very personal once we decided for our son to transition into this type of support. And it's the smoke cleared, the sun came out, and it was like, you know what, this is exactly along the lines of what we want. We want to be, a part of our son's, educational growth. We love supporting families and what they're doing from an educational standpoint with their children. So let's just put the two together, and here we are right now.
That's so cool. So the smoke lifts, and you're like, all right, this makes sense. Do you look at other franchise brands as a part of your journey, or are you completely dialed into Sylvan?
Well, I know I did, because again, being in education, and even currently, I'm an 8th grade science teacher, and we have a tutoring service that comes into the building, and I ask questions, but just to kind of get their perspective of, their process. And even around the corner, we have a few other tutoring, but I feel like there's nothing as well-rounded as Sylvan, as far as the whole process and everything that it has to offer, from just even high school and even beyond, the test prep and STEM. Because again, as somebody's science, and we have another son who is in high school also, and he's focusing on the STEM aspect. And so for Sylvan to even offer those type of camps and licenses to be able to build on that, especially, we're going to be in a community where they may not have access to those type of STEM programs. And even at the school that I work at, they take the kids to the high schools to give them an opportunity to see, the different STEM programs out there. They went to an aviation, and, you know, not saying that they wanted to be in aviation, but it may have triggered something. It's like, oh, you know what? That looks interesting. That looks like something I would want to do. And for me, Sylvan gave us the opportunity with so many different platforms to be able to offer kids that they may not have ever been able to come across. So
I mean,
I went with that.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from folks that have looked at Sylvan in comparing to other brands. The finish line says, when you can look at the depth of the business, that the business has various different models, that you're buying basically multi-brand under one brand that helps them get to the conclusion that that brand made sense. Did you guys go through the discovery process with other brands, or after you've done your research, how do you then go about becoming a prospect within Sylvan's system?
Well, based off of Renita's research, us discussing, and again, I think the catalyst for us was not from a business standpoint, but from a personal standpoint, choosing a program that was going to best suit our child. And because that was the root of our decision to go with Sylvan, as in retrospect to allowing the program to help our son, that triggered, okay, well, let's just dive into it a little bit more and see, you know, what this is all about. And, you know, and we, you know, we never looked back, so to speak. So, you know, it wasn't we did our research from a personal standpoint. And again, with our experiences, you know, and travels throughout the world, you know, working with Kumon and whatnot, as far as being a part of that program for our children at a very younger age. And then now here with Sylvan, it just made a lot of sense for us.
So you make the decision, all right, we're ready to inquire. I assume you just go through the website and get into the process. Is that as simple as it was?
Well, I think before that, it was a little bit more. You know, we are inquisitors, so we you know, we called.
Rare.
Yeah, we're like, you know what? Hey, tell us a little bit more about this.
Oh, that's awesome. How did you get comfortable after? Okay, so you've now inquired and you've said you've made the phone call. How did you do your research at that point? Did you go online? Did you start talking with other franchise owners? How did you get comfortable with this?
Well, for me, I'm the kind of person that reads reviews. I will go in. I do a deep dive of everything that I like inquire about. And my deep dive was, okay, website, yes. Even looking at other sites that create blogs of their own personal experience, I would read. And then also, because of the community that we live in, the parents is strong parental involvement. And even talking to parents who enrolled their kids in a tutoring program. But the things, you know, what I seen was, it was really specific. So somebody would go, oh, we went to Mathnasium, and they were like, oh, because my child was doing this, and this, but it was only specific to this one topic. And I'm like, okay, well, what else after? Like, you know, what came? And even in a shopping center, they have a STEM lab. So I can only bring my child here if I want them to get any type of STEM education. So everything was like its own separate entity. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, how cost effective is that if I have to sign my kid up at all of these different places just for them to be able to get something as a whole? And that was just within my own community and just talking with the moms, because the other thing too is that we have 3 sons and they're all in sports, and they're all, you know, it becomes a mom group because we're all together and we're always doing something. And that became a topic of discussion because, again, we do have kids, they're in sports, and, you know, it always comes up. Or do they want to do something in college? Okay, well, hey, we've got SATs, we've got this, we've got that. And then we start talking about education and opportunities and each kid's, you know, what they want to do beyond.
Right.
So, like, for instance, our middle one, who is at Sylvan, he is very into culinary, but our youngest is into engineering. So at the same time, it's like, okay, you have these different, you have the kind of like, what am I trying to say? You have like a different interest.
Yeah.
But for me, Sylvan allowed them to explore all interest.
Love it.
Without having to be, oh, well, I can only do this here.
Is there anything that could have scared you away or made you nervous in the process before you're signing the franchise agreement?
Honestly, I don't think anything made me scared. It's, because it was kind of hard, I guess, because of our experience in seeing what Sylvan can do and will do for future students. It was kind of like, it was calming. It was definitely calming because to me, I'm like, this is a process that works. Right. Because again, with our middle son, to see him grow in the way that he did and beyond his grade level was pretty much an eye opener for the both of us.
When you guys are thinking about yourselves as humans, go back to teenagers, like you're following your passion from your career standpoints. Did you ever dream of business ownership, or where did you guys together start thinking like this was even a part of where your dream could go as a family?
Well, we do have that business mindset, even before I, went to college and stuff like that, as a kid, cutting grass on my own, trying to, get money and stuff, cutting grass in the neighborhood for neighbors and stuff like that. Being a business owner has always been a passion of ours. We've talked about it from the very beginning, being in the military and being part of the military community, traveling around, seeing the type of support, that the military does provide for service members and ownership. We knew it was part of our life path. So
where does the dream go now? Like, obviously you got to get Unit 1 open. When is the opening?
Well, we don't have a set date yet, so we're working on that right now, but it's our hope is to have it up and open within the next few months. But we want to see how this goes. This particular one goes for us, and hopes of possibly opening up another Sylvan Learning franchise, and then some branching off into some entities that Sylvan would support as a whole. So education and giving back to our community and being passionate about our children kind of comes in full circle, and this is definitely roadmap and a catalyst of making all those dreams come true.
Do the kids look at this and think it's cool, or do they understand the leap that you guys have taken as a family?
Well, we have, again, we keep in mind we have teenage boys,
so they're probably more worried about, are you going to make us try to learn more?
What's for dinner or something like that. But they do understand the decision and where we're going with that, and also understanding that our hopes is to leave a legacy in retrospect, and have them carry on something that we started when they're ready.
So for both of you, I mean, like you guys have the perfect partnership in both of your backgrounds. Like it just starts leading into being what I think an ideal candidate for a Sylvan would be. You have military commitment, loyalty, flexibility, education, and it all starts fitting in to make sense. So I totally understand why you pick Sylvan. Do you think, now that you know what you know so far, like, is Sylvan a good business for educators? Is it a good business for military? Do you need to have both sides to be able to find success? What's your viewpoint on future franchisees, like now that you've started going through this?
So well, from what I can gather, I think that the combination of both is definitely a plus. Again, for two-part folk. One, as a business owner, you get the discipline and the support of the military and understanding, all things that are incumbent upon being successful, intangible and tangible qualities. You have from the education side, you understand the importance of education because that's the main root and is what's driving the success of Sylvan, providing that education. From a personal standpoint, as a parent and whatnot, I think going into a business that not only has a military background, but emphasis on a educational background. Not only am I, having the confidence of knowing that I have certified teachers and owners that are, willing to do and go above, what others may not want to do, and that is be a part of the military, and not only be a part of the military, but have a career in the military. So I think that speaks kind of wonders on both aspects of it. It's just my opinion.
Renee, anything to add?
Also, to know that you're in it to help, I feel like, because at one point, when we started off, I was like, oh my gosh, so much stuff that they need. And, I had to, at the same time, I'm like, this is bigger than us. This is a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, it could definitely seem overwhelming when you're getting the emails and the packets and the, 7-8 attachments that need something. And, you're looking at this as, brand new, and you're opening it up and you're kind of like, oh gosh, I don't know. At one point I did have that, wow, this is a lot. But at the same time, I knew that we were both going to serve a bigger purpose. And I think you have to go into it knowing that's above everything before you try to go in and say, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. Because you definitely may get overwhelmed if you don't go in with the right intentions.
I mean, for what it's worth, I've spoken with probably now thousands of different franchise owners, and probably the most difficult stage is signing to opening, because you're in the unknown stage, and so you have the heavy excitement of what's going to come, but it's still unknown because you haven't opened up those doors yet. And that's the period where you start laying in the foundational work, which you are. I mean, even mentally, like thinking through, what does it now mean that we're business owners as a family? Like, you're setting this up well. But based on your guys' stories, I mean, the reality is you both understand education and you both understand following a system. Like those are very two critical things as it relates to this business. So it seems like your background, like you're going to be able to lean backwards on your experience as humans to now propel you in business. And it seems like this was the right decision for you guys, obviously. And now you just got to get the doors open.
Exactly.
What about just closing on any advice, anything that you've learned or something that you wish you knew back when you decided to inquire? Anything that has come up that you're like, we should have done a little bit more homework on this, or we feel better than X? Anything that stands out as a piece of advice for anybody who might watch this now or in the future?
From my standpoint, from thus far, again, we're getting a lot of great support first and foremost, all around in this process. I guess for me, the bit of advice that I would offer is establish or try to look for certain areas, properties, beforehand. So, you have an idea where you want to be placed, be a little bit more engaged in, the actual properties that you want to use. Because I think for us right now, just finding that right quote unquote home is, very important. And I think, some of the things that I was telling our support group for, a realtor, this is going to be our second home. I don't want to, have a second guess about it or not feel, 100% about it. It's like buying your home, to live in. You want that wow factor. You want that, that feeling, that an internal feeling. Yeah, there you go, the warm and fuzzy and stuff like that we see in the military. But yes. So I think that is very, very important to me. So.
No, I definitely agree with that. Everything has been beyond, just getting to. For my advice would be to stick with it. If this is what you want to do, then stick with it. Know that there is an end, in a bigger picture. Stick with it. And then at the same time, don't just be in such a rush that you choose something and then you regret it, because then that's going to bleed into anything that you do further. Yeah. It's going to definitely bleed into it, and people are going to be able to read that you're not excited and you feel like this isn't what you really wanted or what you expected. So to definitely make sure that all of your ducks are in a row and that this is really, really, really what you want.
I think that's fantastic advice. And look, the both of you are playing for the long haul. So the decisions you make on the real estate selection process, I mean, it's a long-term decision. So there's a lot of franchise owners that, and not necessarily in Sylvan, just period, they'll cut a corner on the real estate selection to save $1 now, even though later on it could mean a significant impact on their wealth later on. So, I mean, you guys have the right mindset on it. I think that's what's going to drive you guys to find success. You're playing for the long haul. You're thinking about what's next. And I'm looking forward to seeing where your guys' story goes. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Clarence, obviously, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
This was the veteran side was definitely a part of this discussion, and hopefully can resonate with someone. So for Clarence and Renita, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing how your Sylvan story fills out as we continue this journey. Thanks, guys.
Yes.